Ladies and gentlemen, there are days when getting out of bed feels like lifting a mountain. Days when the weight of doubt, fear, and exhaustion feels heavier than the dream that once fueled us. We've all been there. The question is not if we will face these days. The question is, what will we do when they come? You see, the human spirit is remarkable. We are built for endurance far beyond what we can imagine. But here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. Sometimes you have to force yourself to keep going. Not because you feel inspired, not because you feel strong, but because your purpose deserves it. If you only move when you feel like it, you will always be at the mercy of your mood. This simple statement carries profound truth. Human emotions are unpredictable. They rise and fall like the tides, often influenced by things beyond our control. A harsh word from someone, a sleepless night, an unexpected failure, or even just a gloomy day. If our actions are dependent solely on how we feel in the moment, we become prisoners of those fleeting emotions. Our dreams, ambitions, and goals are far too important to be left at the mercy of moods that change like the weather. Discipline is the anchor in the storm of feeling. Where emotions waver, discipline holds steady. It's not about ignoring your feelings, it's about recognizing them without surrendering to them. There will be days when motivation is absent, when the spark is dim, when you don't feel the fire that once drove you. On those days, discipline steps in as your silent partner. It whispers, keep going, not because you're inspired, but because you've made a commitment to yourself, and that commitment is worth honoring, no matter what. The greatest achievers in life are not those who always feel motivated. They are those who understand that feelings are unreliable drivers of action. They don't wait for motivation to strike like light. Instead, they build routines, they create systems, and they stick to them religiously. Whether it's waking up early, training consistently, writing every day, or pushing through tough projects, they rely on the power of habit more than the unpredictability of inspiration. Consider an athlete preparing for a championship. There are countless mornings when their body aches, when fatigue is overwhelming, when the temptation to stay in bed feels irresistible. Yet they lace up their shoes and head to practice because they understand something crucial. The body follows the mind. By choosing discipline over mood, they train their minds to lead, not to follow emotions. Over time, this practice strengthens their mental resilience, turning discipline into second nature. What once required effort becomes automatic. This same principle applies to every field of life. Writers, artists, entrepreneurs, leaders, they all face internal resistance. Creativity doesn't flow freely every day. Ideas don't spark in every moment. Yet, the disciplined ones sit at their desk, they pick up their tools, and they do the work regardless of how they feel. They understand that action leads to momentum, and momentum often reignites inspiration. In other words, you don't wait for inspiration to act, you act, and through action, inspiration returns. This understanding transforms the way we approach challenge. Instead of saying, I don't feel like it today, we say, it doesn't matter how I feel today. We shift our focus from mood to mission. We stop negotiating with ourselves and start leading ourselves. We take ownership of our actions, recognizing that our emotions are visitors, but our goals are permanent residents. Moreover, choosing discipline over mood builds a powerful form of self-respect. Each time you act in spite of your feelings, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your emotions. This builds trust within yourself. You begin to believe deeply that you are capable, reliable, and committed. This internal trust is priceless because it becomes the foundation of your confidence. You know that no matter what comes your way, no matter the fear, doubt, or exhaustion, you will show up for yourself. The beauty of discipline is that it compounds over time. What begins as small daily choices accumulates into extraordinary results. A few pages written every day become a book. Small daily workouts transform your health. Regular intentional efforts grow into mastery. These results are not born from fleeting motivation, but from consistent, disciplined action taken day after day. Regardless of mood, when you learn to act independently of your emotions, you unlock a deeper level of freedom. You are no longer a puppet pulled by the strings of temporary feelings. Instead, you become the master of your path. You move forward when it's hard. You push through resistance, and slowly but surely you turn your discipline into progress and your progress into success. Push forward not because it's easy, but because your purpose deserves it. This mindset is what separates those who merely dream from those who make their dreams a reality. Purpose is not always about grand gestures or world-changing missions. Sometimes purpose is quiet, deeply personal, and rooted in a desire to build a better life, support loved ones, create something meaningful, or simply become the person you know you're meant to be. Whatever your purpose may be, it deserves your perseverance, especially when the road becomes difficult. Life rarely unfolds in a straight line. Obstacles appear, detours arise, and challenges test your willpower. It is in these moments that your purpose becomes your compass. When everything feels like it's falling apart, your purpose reminds you why you started. It provides clarity amid confusion and strength amid weakness. Without a clear purpose, it becomes far too easy to give up when the journey grows tough. But when you're anchored in purpose, you see setbacks not as signs to stop, but as part of the process of growth and refinement. Your purpose is bigger than your pain. Pain is temporary, discomfort is fleeting, but the impact of living in alignment with your purpose echoes far beyond the momentary hardships. Every time you choose to push forward, despite fatigue, despite frustration, despite fear, you are making a statement to yourself and the world that your purpose is worth fighting for. It's a quiet rebellion against mediocrity and surrender. It's the acknowledgement that while the journey is tough, the destination holds meaning that surpasses the struggle. When people quit, it's rarely because their goal was impossible. More often, it's because they lost sight of their purpose. They allowed distractions, doubts, and difficulties to cloud their vision. They forgot why they began. But those who persevere, who keep their purpose front and center, find a way to endure even the darkest season. They remind themselves daily of their why and let that fuel their actions. They understand that feelings of discouragement are natural, but abandoning their purpose is not an option. Purpose turns ordinary efforts into extraordinary persistence. It gives meaning to repetition and resilience to failure. Without it, tasks feel like burdens. With it, those same tasks become stepping stones toward a greater goal. A person cleaning floors with a purpose to provide a better future for their family approaches the job with more determination than someone working without a deeper reason. Purpose infuses every action with significance, making even the mundane feel meaningful. Challenges, instead of breaking you, begin to build you. Each difficulty faced strengthens your character, sharpens your focus, and deepens your commitment. You begin to see challenges as opportunities to prove to yourself how much your purpose matters. Where others see barriers, you see building blocks. Where others turn back, you push forward. Not because the path is easy, but because the result is worth every ounce of effort. Purpose is what keeps you moving when motivation fades. Motivation is like a spark. It can ignite quickly, but it can also die out just as fast. Purpose, however, burns steadily, providing a lasting source of energy. When you are tired, your purpose reminds you to take one more step. When you are discouraged, your purpose urges you to rise again. It becomes the voice in your mind that refuses to let you settle for less than you're capable of. As you continue on your journey, you begin to realize that the pursuit of purpose transforms you. The hardships you endure shape your character. The perseverance you build strengthens your spirit. The moments when you feel like giving up but choose to continue anyway create a reservoir of inner strength that you can draw upon for the rest of your life. You are not just working toward a goal, you are becoming the person worthy of achieving it. Even in moments of doubt, remind yourself that your purpose deserves your perseverance. Not because the journey is easy, not because success is guaranteed, but because the meaning behind your actions matters deeply to you. It matters enough to endure the discomfort, to embrace the struggle, and to keep going even when every part of you wants to stop. Your purpose is worth it, and you are worth the effort it takes to pursue it with everything you have. Small steps every day build unshakable momentum. This truth is often underestimated because we live in a world that celebrates big wins, overnight success stories, and dramatic transformation. But behind every seemingly sudden victory is a quiet, steady accumulation of small, consistent acts. These daily efforts, though they may seem insignificant in the moment, create a powerful force that moves you steadily toward your goals. The beauty of momentum is that it doesn't begin with giant leaps. It begins with the decision to take one step forward, followed by another, and then another, until progress becomes inevitable. It's natural to feel overwhelmed by the size of your dreams. When you look at the mountain ahead, it can feel impossible to climb, but focusing on the summit too much can paralyze you. Instead, focus on the next step in front of you. Break your journey down into manageable actions. Write one page a day. Make one phone call. Spend 15 minutes honing your skill. These may seem like drops in the ocean, but over time, they accumulate into waves of progress that carry you forward, often faster than you expect. Momentum is not about perfection. It's about persistence. Some days your steps will be strong and confident, while other days they will be small and shaky. Both are valuable because both keep you in motion. The key is to avoid standing still. Stagnation is the enemy of progress. Even the smallest effort today ensures that you are further along than you were yesterday, and tomorrow you'll be further still. The compounding effect of daily effort is astonishing when you allow time to work its magic. Every small step also builds your belief in yourself. Each action reinforces the narrative that you are someone who moves toward your goals, regardless of how distant they may seem. This self-belief is crucial, especially when external results are not yet visible. The early stages of any pursuit are often thankless. You may not see the fruits of your labor right away. There may be no applause, no recognition, no immediate rewards. But these are the moments when your commitment is truly tested and strengthened. There is also a psychological power to momentum. Once you begin moving, it becomes easier to keep going. Starting is the hardest part, but motion breeds motivation. When you see even a small sign of progress, it fuels your desire to continue. Success starts to feel attainable, not because the journey becomes easier, but because you have built the habit of persistence. The daily discipline of showing up removes the weight of procrastination and fear, replacing it with a growing sense of possibility. Small steps also allow you to adjust and learn along the way. They give you the space to experiment, to discover what works and what doesn't, without the pressure of making massive decisions all at once. This flexibility is invaluable because it keeps you adaptable and resilient. Rather than fearing mistakes, you embrace them as part of the process. Each day becomes an opportunity to refine your approach, to get a little better, to move a little closer to your desired outcome. The consistency of small steps also guards against burnout. Grand, unsustainable efforts may feel impressive in the short term, but they often lead to exhaustion and eventual collapse. Small, steady actions are sustainable. They allow you to maintain progress over the long haul without draining your energy or enthusiasm. By pacing yourself, you create a rhythm that you can sustain for months, even years, which is exactly what meaningful success requires. What begins as a simple routine eventually evolves into a powerful force that feels almost unstoppable. The days of struggle transform into days of progress. The moments of doubt become moments of quiet determination, and gradually you build a foundation so strong that external circumstances can no longer shake it. You stop questioning whether you will reach your goal and start trusting the process you've committed. Momentum, once established, carries you forward with a force greater than willpower alone. It becomes part of who you are. You begin to identify as someone who keeps moving, who refuses to quit, who values progress over perfection. This identity propels you further than motivation ever could. It weaves persistence into your very character, ensuring that no matter what obstacles arise, you continue to move forward, one small step at a time. Pain is not the signal to stop, it is the signal to grow. Most people misunderstand pain, seeing it only as a warning, a barrier, or a sign of failure. But pain in its many forms, physical, emotional, mental, is actually a powerful teacher. It forces you to pay attention, to confront your weaknesses, and to stretch beyond your current limits. Pain is the undeniable evidence that you are in motion, that you are engaging with life fully, and that you are not settling for comfort zones that keep you small. It is not something to avoid at all costs, but rather something to understand, respect, and use as a catalyst for growth. When you pursue any meaningful goal, pain will show up. It may come as fatigue from long hours of work, frustration from repeated failures, or the discomfort of stepping into the unknown. It might even be the ache of sacrifice, giving up temporary pleasures for long-term reward. Instead of seeing these moments as reasons to retreat, you must learn to see them as proof that you are on the right path. Pain is what sharpens your focus. It strips away distractions and forces you to look inward, to find strength you did not know you had. Growth never happens in the absence of struggle. Muscles grow stronger when they are challenged, stretched, and even torn at a microscopic level. In the same way, your mind, your resilience, your character all expand when they are pushed beyond familiar territory. If you avoid pain completely, you also avoid the very experiences that could make you stronger, wiser, and more capable. Comfort may feel safe, but it breeds stagnation. Pain, as difficult as it is to endure, is often the price of transformation. There is a difference between destructive pain and constructive pain. Destructive pain leads to harm without purpose, but constructive pain is the discomfort that accompanies progress. Learning to recognize the difference is crucial. Constructive pain feels like the strain of a heavy workout, the mental challenge of solving a tough problem, or the emotional struggle of persevering when things are not going your way. It is the kind of pain that signals growth is happening beneath the surface, even if you cannot yet see it. One of the greatest shifts you can make is to stop fearing pain and start listening to it. What is it trying to teach you? What part of you is being challenged to grow? When you ask these questions, you move from being a passive victim of pain to an active student of it. You begin to understand that pain often highlights the very areas where you are being invited to level up. Instead of running from it, you lean into it with curiosity and courage. Pain also humbles you. It reminds you that you are human, that progress is not always smooth, and that setbacks are part of the journey. But this humility is not weakness, it is wisdom. It grounds you in reality and deepens your appreciation for the victories you earn through perseverance. Every success tastes sweeter when you remember the pain it took to get there. Pain gives you perspective, showing you just how far you have come and how much you are capable of enduring. The most remarkable aspect of embracing pain is how it transforms your relationship with fear. Fear feeds on avoidance. The more you run from pain, the more power fear gains over you. But when you face pain head on, you rob fear of its control. You realize that you are stronger than the discomfort you once thought would break you. You discover resilience that surprises you. And with each painful experience you overcome, you grow less afraid of what lies ahead. Pain teaches patience. Growth is not immediate. Results do not always come quickly. Pain forces you to slow down, to endure, to keep going when the rewards are not yet visible. It teaches you to trust the process, to believe in the value of steady effort, and to hold on to hope, even in the darkest moments. In this way, pain becomes a silent companion on your journey, not as an enemy, but as a guide, pushing you toward the highest version of yourself. When you learn to see pain as a signal for growth, you change the way you approach every challenge. You stop asking for an easier path and start asking for the strength to endure the path you are on. You embrace the lessons embedded in your struggles, knowing that each moment of pain is shaping you into someone more prepared for success. Pain, when properly understood, becomes not the end of your journey, but the beginning of a stronger, wiser, and more determined you. The people around you can either be the wind in your sails or the weight that drags you down. Human beings are deeply social creatures, wired to connect, to mirror, and to absorb the energy of those in their environment. The atmosphere you choose to live in, the conversations you participate in, the mindsets you're surrounded by, all of these factors silently shape your own thoughts, beliefs, and actions far more than you realize. When you are on a journey of persistence, when you're forcing yourself to keep going through obstacles and doubt, the influence of the people around you becomes even more critical. You will either be lifted by those who believe in you, or you will be drained by those who constantly question your path. It is not just about surrounding yourself with people who are positive, though positivity is important. It is about surrounding yourself with people who understand the struggle of growth, people who respect the process of perseverance, people who've fought their own battles and can speak from a place of wisdom. These are the voices that will remind you why you started. Even on days when you feel like quitting, they will not always tell you what you want to hear, but they will tell you what you need to hear. They will challenge you, push you, and hold you accountable to the promises you've made to yourself. There is a quiet but powerful truth about progress. It is contagious. When you spend time with people who are relentlessly pursuing their goals, who are disciplined in their habits, who are resilient in the face of setback, their energy begins to rub off on. Without realizing it, you start to adopt their standard. Their drive becomes your fuel. Their consistency becomes your reminder that greatness is not a moment of brilliance, but a series of small, disciplined steps taken every single day. This is the power of environment. It silently pulls you toward the level of those you spend the most time with. Conversely, when you remain in the company of those who constantly complain, who always find excuses, who live in fear of failure, their mindset seeps into your own. Doubt spreads like a virus. It begins with small thoughts. Maybe this is too hard. Maybe I am not cut out for this. Maybe I should just give up. Slowly, these thoughts grow until they paralyze your actions. You begin to hesitate, to procrastinate, to lose momentum. What once was a fire in your heart becomes a flickering flame, starved of the oxygen it needs to burn brightly. This is why intentional relationships matter. You must be deliberate about who you allow to speak into your life. Seek out mentors who have walked the path before you. Build friendships with those who are also committed to growth. Engage in conversations that challenge your thinking and stretch your perspective. Spend less time with those who drain your energy and more time with those who ignite your passion. Energy is transferable, and when you align yourself with people who are striving toward greatness, you naturally elevate your own performance. There's also the hidden power of accountability. When you declare your goals to someone who genuinely cares about your progress, you create a layer of responsibility beyond yourself. On the days when your own motivation falters, knowing that someone else is watching, cheering, and expecting you to keep going can be the push you need. Accountability partners do not let you slip quietly into mediocrity. They remind you of your potential when you forget it yourself. They see the greatness in you and refuse to let you settle for anything less. But this influence is not one way. As much as you are shaped by the people around you, you also have the power to shape them. Be the person who brings energy into the room. Be the one who encourages others to keep going, who celebrates their progress, who speaks life into their dream. When you become a source of inspiration for others, you reinforce those same values within yourself. You create a cycle of mutual growth where everyone in your circle rises together. Your environment is either your greatest ally or your silent saboteur. Every conversation, every interaction, every shared experience adds weight to one side of the scale or the other. The choice is yours to make. Surround yourself with people who remind you daily that you are capable, that your goals are worth fighting for, and that even in your weakest moments, you are stronger than you think. The right people won't just keep you going, they will make you unstoppable. The key to success lies not in avoiding failure, but in learning how to fail forward. The idea of failure carries with it a negative connotation. Many fear failure, believing it's an indication that they are not good enough or that they are not cut out for success. However, failure is an essential part of the process, a necessary teacher on the path to growth and achievement. Every successful person has failed many times, but they didn't let those failures define them. Instead, they used each one as a stepping stone, as an opportunity to learn and improve. Failure is not the end of the road, but rather the beginning of a deeper understanding of what works and what doesn't. Failure often teaches you lessons that success never could. When you succeed, you may never fully appreciate what went into that success, the challenges, the mistakes, and the obstacles that were overcome. But failure forces you to reflect, to dig deep, and to analyze what went wrong. It strips away the illusion of perfection and reveals areas that need attention and refinement. It's through failure that you discover your weaknesses, and more importantly, you learn how to transform them into strengths. Every failure is an invitation to recalibrate, to adjust your approach, and to try again with a better understanding of what needs to be done. One of the most critical aspects of failing forward is the ability to detach your self-worth from your failure. Failure is something you do, not who you are. It's a result, not an identity. The mistake many people make is internalizing failure, thinking that because they failed, they are somehow less capable or less worthy of success. But failure doesn't make you less of a person. It makes you a person who is learning, evolving, and growing. The key is to view failure as feedback, not a verdict on your abilities. When you see failure as feedback, it becomes a valuable tool for improvement rather than a reason to give up. Another powerful part of failing forward is embracing the idea that every failure brings you closer to success. Failure is a natural part of the journey to mastery. No one becomes great at anything without going through the inevitable trials and errors along the way. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not the absence of failure, but the willingness to keep going despite it. Every time you fail, you are actually closer to the point where you get it right. The key is persistence and the courage to keep moving forward. Each failed attempt is another step toward understanding what worked, and each lesson learned brings you closer to the breakthrough you seek. Failing forward also requires a shift in mindset. Instead of fearing failure, you begin to welcome it as an essential part of your development. You start to view challenges as opportunities for growth and setbacks as necessary detours on the way to your goal. This mindset shift changes the way you approach every situation. Instead of seeing failure as something to avoid, you see it as an essential part of the learning process. It no longer has the power to paralyze you. Instead, it becomes a tool for refinement and progress. Those who fear failure often hesitate, procrastinate, or avoid taking risks, but those who fail forward are not afraid to take action, knowing that failure is simply part of the equation. One of the most important lessons failure teaches is resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back after a setback, to recover from failure, and to keep moving forward. It's what separates those who achieve their goals from those who give up. Every failure challenges your resilience. It tests your ability to get back up after being knocked down. But with each failure, you grow stronger. You learn how to navigate the setbacks with grace and determination. The more resilient you become, the less fear you have of failure, and the more capable you are of pushing through challenges to reach your goal. The final part of failing forward is understanding that success is not a straight line. The journey to success is often messy, filled with twists, turns, and detours. The road may be longer than expected, and there will be moments of doubt, frustration, and confusion. But as long as you keep moving forward, no failure is truly final. You may need to adjust your approach, change your strategy, or try a new method, but every failure is an opportunity to course correct. The journey is not about avoiding failure. It's about embracing it, learning from it, and using it to propel you toward your goals. The more you fail forward, the closer you get to achieving everything you've set out to accomplish.